Now it's time for Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf, the #1 relationship advice radio show in the U.S.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ask Dr. Love. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and it's my pleasure to be with you again this week. So I have a question for you. Are you committing bedroom blunders? Well, if you suspect you are, stick around as I pull back the covers to reveal the 10 most common male and female bedroom blunders and how to fix them fast. We're also going to talk about how to recover from sexual faux pas and much more. And then later in the show, I'll be answering the questions you submitted to me at AskDrLove.com. The first question is called Confused Feelings, Friend or Boyfriend, Love or Infatuation. And in this question, I help a young woman understand whether she is in love with her best friend or not. The next question is how to ask a guy with commitment issues what he wants. And in this question, I'm helping out a young woman who is afraid to broach the subject for fear of hearing that he just wants to have fun. At the same time, she doesn't want to burn her bridges by remaining exclusive with him if he's not interested in more. So stick with me to find out my simple technique for handling this sticky subject. The next question I'm going to answer is he's texting a teen, and I'm helping a woman whose 32-year-old boyfriend is texting a 14-year-old. And when she confronted him about it, he just blew off her concerns. So stay tuned to find out the real issue at stake and what she must do about it. The next question is called Messed Up, and I'm working with a young woman who's tried everything to win a particular man's attention, including him giving him sex when he was in a relationship with another person. So stay tuned to find out my shocking recommendations for her. You can read all the columns that are on my website at AskDrLove.com. The tab is called Advice Q&A. I'm also going to do a reading between the sheets sex question for you later in the show. And this one's called I'm Weak. And I'm helping out a 32-year-old man who says that he keeps losing partners because he can't manage a second inning. So stay with me to find out the real reason why all these women are turning away from him. And hint, the reason has nothing to do with sex. So now on to today's show. Do you wish your sex life were better, different, hotter? You know, it's easy to blame your partner for not sending you to the moon and back in bed, but maybe it's not your partner's fault that your sex life isn't taking off. There are common mistakes that couples make that prevent their sex life from zooming off the charts. But don't worry, we can fix these mistakes. So let's start with the most common female sexual boo-boos. And I'm going to give you the top 10. Mistake number 1. Waiting for him to get things going. You know, it can become a habit to let a man take the lead in the sack. He starts, you respond or not. Maybe you're frozen by the stereotype that guys make the first move, or you dread being turned down if you make the first move. I hear from a lot of men who tell me, I hate being the one who has to decide when and if we have sex. So the fix? Resolve to take the lead, ladies. If you're shy, start by flirting or planning a dinner out. Even if you don't initiate sex per se, you'll set yourself up to have a sexy moment. That's like dipping your toe in the water and getting your toe wet. And not just your toe, right? And also, I want you to vow to not be angry or hurt if he's too tired or stressed out and says no. Women often take rejection to heart, whereas guys just tend to figure, well, they'll make an overture and have a 1 in 3 chance of being rejected. So get some tougher skin, ladies, some tougher skin, and don't take his rejection personally, and don't insert your ego and think it's because he's not attracted to you. Guys are human too. They can be tired and not in the mood. Second, female bedroom boo-boo, ignoring that guys are visual creatures. So there's a good reason why your guy's probably more likely to give you a gift like sexy lingerie instead of a handbag. He likes how you look in the lingerie a lot. Women tell me, but I find him hot in his old boxers. Women don't understand why a guy doesn't like her thermal chicken print PJs. The reason? Well, research says men respond most to visual stimulation. That's how their brains are wired, where while women tend to use touch, sound, smell, and words, and even emotions to get aroused. So the fix: ditch the long johns, at least some nights. You don't have to wear lace or dominatrix gear if that's not your thing, but you'll do you both a favor if you pick bedclothes that show off your body and make you feel sexy too. Now, here's mistake number 3: having unreal ideas about how your body works. Don't believe that quote unquote real women have vaginal orgasms, or thanks to porn or that Sex in the City episode about female ejaculation or squirting. Don't believe that that's the norm. Women are convinced that it will enhance their experience, but only 5 to 6% of women naturally squirt, and you can damage pelvic floor muscles by trying. The fix: relax. Trying to climax a certain way only puts your sex life on ice. And by the way, most women need clitoral stimulation to achieve orgasm. Both the clitoris, this is because the clitoris is rich with nerve endings. So rubbing against your partner, oral sex, hand, manual stimulation can do the job. And a nice amount of foreplay helps most women to climax. Most women need 20 minutes of direct clitoral stimulation to orgasm, by the way. Most people don't know that. Mistake number 4: overthinking. The key is to avoid what I call sex Olympics and other forms of spectatoring. So say you're worrying you're taking too much time to climax, or you're acting out a scene from 50 Shades of Grey, or you avoid a position that makes your belly jiggle. So if you're thinking about how you act in bed rather than how you feel in bed, you become an actor rather than a lover. It was Masters and Johnson who dubbed this kind of self-monitoring spectatoring. And research shows that women who do it have fewer orgasms and fake it more. So what's the fix? Bring your focus to something about the present, the feel of your partner's skin, the look on his face, how much you like feeling him inside you. Learning mindfulness meditation can help you to do this. Mistake 5: over focusing on his penis. Now, yeah, men like their penis to be touched and stimulated, but men like women to focus on other areas too, to build desire. Too often, guys say women focus right away and only on the penis. Can you believe this? So what's the fix? Start somewhere else. Kiss a while, give a massage, play with his nipples, rub his scrotum. The whole body likes foreplay, and that includes men too. Bedroom blunder number 6 for women: under focusing on yourself. You tease him, you please him, you make his dreams come true. But what about you? What do you like? What do you want? What do you fantasize about? You're not getting a good time if you're thinking, I wish he'd move a millimeter to the left. You're in your head again, your head, and not being in the moment and in your own body. The fix: speak up. Better to say a little higher, a little lower. That's great. Hold it right there. A woman's body is complex, and a guy can't know everything about you unless you tell him. Mistake number 7: not being, and this one's connected to the blunder that I just mentioned, not being assertive enough to tell him what you want and you don't want. A lot of women are afraid that the guy's ego is too fragile to handle the instruction, but that's his problem, not yours, right? And if he can't handle your instructions, he's going to have to work on his fragile ego. That's not your job. Bedroom blunder, mistake number 8 for women: not letting your fantasies run wild. Many women feel unfaithful when they fantasize during sex with a partner. So you got to let that one go. You can have sex in your mind with the entire Tijuana brass band if you like. And that is not cheating, and that is not unfaithful. And people who are sexually satisfied just routinely use fantasy to enhance their arousal. Okay? Bedroom blunder number 9 for women. This one's a subtle one that people don't talk about much. I call it not using a firm enough touch. You know, men, when they're stimulating themselves, use a much stronger touch than most women tend to use. So remember, you want to touch him the way he wants to be touched, not the way you want to be touched. I call that the platinum rule. That is giving to your partner what he wants, not what you want. Right? Mistake number 10, drum roll, please. Faking orgasm. This is a horrible bedroom boo-boo that's going to box you into a very tight sexual corner. I've had a lot of women over the decades tell me that in the beginning they faked an orgasm to not make their partner feel inadequate, but then they didn't know how to get out of this corner that they boxed themselves into. How do they suddenly say it's not working when they pretended it was working? So just skip the faking orgasms, period, end of story. All right. Now, what about the most common male bedroom boo-boos? So, you know how most guys learn about sex? They're taught the basic facts of life, and then they're left to puzzle out their partner's sexuality and their own by trial and error. And yeah, experience is useful, but it isn't everything. Even guys who had a lot of sexual experience with women make bedroom blunders. So you don't have to learn the hard way, no pun intended. 3 well-known sex educators, Masters and Johnson and Virginia, all of the main sexual educators tell us that there are some very specific ways to avoid the most common sex mistakes that guys make. So I'm going to tell you now the top 10 male sexual boo-boos. Ready for one? Assuming you know how to please a woman. Now, guys often assume that the way they learn to please one woman works for all women. Not so. With each sexual partner that you have, you gain a growing body of knowledge of female bodies and female pleasure. But women's sexuality is really complicated and really individual. Every woman's body responds in a different way to sensation, and every woman's anatomy is a little different. What feels amazing to one woman may do nothing or even cause discomfort for another. So you need to do sexual detective work to be a sexual Sherlock Holmes or Sherlock Holmes, right? With each new partner, you've got to discover your partner's unique sexual fingerprint. When it comes to intercourse, one key variable is your thrusting technique. Does she like it fast or slow, deep or shallow? Does she like it to mix it up, slow and shallow at first, then fast and deep? Everybody's different. Also, no one sex position is every woman's favorite. She may prefer a certain sex position for several reasons. Different positions allow various angles of penetration, depending not only on her anatomy, but also the size and shape of the penis she's having sex with. Differences between partners' body shape and height may make some positions better than others. And for some women, it's important to have face-to-face intimacy during intimacy. You know, I've talked to tons of women who say, I know missionary gets a bad rap, but I really like it. And others say, I like to have sex from behind. People are really across the board when it comes to positions. Okay, mistake number 2 for men. Let's not talk about sex. Believe it or not, most couples who seek counseling don't talk to each other about sex. And often that's because they don't have the words, because many people don't know or aren't comfortable using correct terms. You know, decades ago, I had a patient who was a sex educator at a local community college. And he said to me, I like to cunnilingus my wife. Well, oh my goodness, if he used that expression, you know, cunnilingus, oral sex on a woman, but cunnilingus, I mean, most women would be like, huh? Scratching their heads. So very few people know the correct scientific terms. That doesn't matter. You can say kiss you there, you can point. You know, now, for example, a guy might say vagina also when he means vulva, and he may talk about doing it, though it's not always clear what it is. Vaginal intercourse, oral sex, and a lot of work initially is just getting comfortable with the words, your own sexual lingo. And if it's hard for your partner to say what she wants sexually, try asking specific questions instead of open-ended questions. What do you like is an open-ended question that often doesn't get a useful answer. To get around that sticking point, do one thing and then do another thing and then say, which do you like better? It's like a multiple choice quiz. And then your partner doesn't have to write an essay. They just have to pick A or B. And many men also think that they should keep quiet during sex. Usually that's not a good thing. There are far too many people having sex in silence in America, and I'm sure throughout the world. And that's like having sex with a mime. Couples should give each other verbal cues during sex, talk to each other and ask each other what you want. A good way to go is to use neutral prompts like harder, slower, or right there. Same as directions you'd give to someone scratching your back. Give really basic, clear information. You don't have to be a master of what they call dirty talk. But dirty talk can be fun. You know, it's funny. Why do they call sex dirty? And a lot of researchers think that the reason is because in previous eras and centuries when daily washing was not the norm, because the genitalia is so close to the organs of elimination that it was considered dirty and smelly and stinky. And then that term dirty talk kind of stuck. But that was just a little aside. Dirty talk can be fun too, if everyone's on the same page about it. And if you don't like talking dirty, you can still talk sexy without being lewd. Telling her what you want, can be highly arousing and get great results. But say, I want you and not I want it. That's the secret. I want you is connecting. And for women, sex is about connecting, very much so. And guys, don't hold back the moans, the grunts, and the sighs. Sounds of sex are sexy and turn on. All right, now, mistake number 3. Not creating a space in which a woman feels safe to offer verbal and nonverbal cues. I had a patient many years ago who told me that she couldn't tell her partner what she wanted in bed. She knew his ego was too fragile. And he also ignored her nonverbal cues regarding what she liked and didn't like. So guys, strap on a pair and be confident enough to let your partner tell you what he or she wants. Mistake number 4, not realizing that you have to learn from scratch with each new partner. I alluded to this before. And again, I remind you, every woman is wired differently. Some like direct clitoral stimulation, others find that painful. If you come to each partner using the same sexual bag of tricks you used with your last partner, you may discover that those tricks are no treat for her. Now, male bedroom boo-boo number 5, taking it out of context. So guys often forget that sex doesn't happen in a vacuum. A man may wonder why he's unhappy with the sex he's having and not connect that with how he and his partner are getting along. A woman may not open up sexually with a partner if she doesn't feel safe emotionally with him. I have a whole section on this in Kiss Your Fights Goodbye. There's a whole biologically programmed reason for this. If you're interested, you can read the book and you'll find out about that. For many women, it takes a feeling of being vulnerable to let herself be explored. And your recent behavior follows you into bed with a woman too. She's still thinking about how you've been the week before, the day before, the hour before. Foreplay begins the week before when you take the trash out. Foreplay also starts outside the bedroom. Foreplay starts with a feeling of closeness and connection. And men can also be clueless about timing. Very often I hear women complain that my partner tries to initiate sex at the absolute wrong times. Always. And there's an easy fix for that. People let us know what they want all the time. And I think we just have to pay attention more. A woman may literally tell you that she wants what she wants to do at various times of the day. And if she doesn't mention sex, that might be a cue for you to wait. Men also have to remember that most women need more time than men to become aroused. Men can get aroused quickly. I mean, a stiff wind. And they're stiff, right? But for many women, the right time for sex would be when she isn't rushed. Mistake number 6, the get her done mindset. Men think about sex like a mission. They break it down into steps: erection, foreplay, penetration, aimed at achieving the main objective, orgasm. Now, that can be a mistake for a couple of reasons. One is that the whole world of sexual experience exists beyond the genitals. Our entire body can be utilized as an erotic zone. So look at the whole body as a map and conquer all the territory. And I know women who can have an orgasm from just having their nipples stimulated. There are women who love to kiss and make out, and all of that is part of sex. And another reason why it's a mistake to focus solely on orgasm is sometimes it just doesn't happen, even for guys. And at those times, people can end up feeling bad about sex that may have been good in other ways. And some men get upset if they can't give a woman an orgasm. And I hear from women a lot that they're already putting pressure on themselves to have an orgasm. And then there's an added layer from their partner. And the women may say it's okay. They still enjoy the sex without the orgasm and don't need to have one every time. But these guys don't believe them because they're locked in that goal-oriented mindset. And their attitude is get that orgasm done. And sex should be thought of as a circular process, like a merry-go-round that you can step on and off whenever you like. There's no goal, no such thing as not finishing or failure. Mistake 7, bedroom boo-boo 7 for the guys is I'm all she needs. Many women are interested in using toys or have used sex toys. And sex toys represent a place where guys' egos can get in the way and be bruised way too easily. A man may feel threatened by a woman's use of toys if he believes his own body part should be enough to satisfy her. And men who reject sex toys walk away from a really big opportunity to broaden their partner's pleasure. A vibrator can deliver focused, consistent, intense stimulation that's impossible for a human to provide. And many women need that kind of stimulation to have an orgasm. And that's okay. Doesn't mean she's broken. It doesn't mean she's strange. And it doesn't mean your penis should pout. Bringing sex toys into sex play and making toys a couple's activity is really the new paradigm. There are also sex toys that can stimulate both partners at the same time. So embrace it, get used to it, and go along for the ride, literally. Mistake 8 for guys, forgetting to ring the doorbell. Most guys have a general idea of what the clitoris is and where to find it, but many don't know at all there is to it. The clitoris is not this tiny button on the outside of the body, which is what most people think it is. The clitoris is often described as being wishbone shaped, and much of it is internal. And the glans of the clitoris is a little button that you can see peeking out from the clitoral hood at the 12 o'clock position on the vulva. But the body of the clitoris extends under the clitoral hood and then bends back and branches into 2 legs behind the labia. And below the legs are 2 bulbs of tissue that surround the urethra and vagina. The entire clitoral tissue is like a man's penis. It swells with blood when a woman becomes aroused. The whole body of the clitoris, not just the glands, is packed with nerves and is highly sensitive. And for many women, the glands is actually too sensitive to touch. And plenty of women don't want stimulation directly on the glands, like you're ringing a doorbell. Instead, they prefer stimulation on the internal body of the clitoris. Other women prefer indirect pressure or vibration that stimulates the clitoris through other areas of the vulva. The majority of women need some clitoral stimulation to have an orgasm, and most women are not able to have an orgasm by vaginal sex alone. That's a very important fact. Penile vaginal sex is an inefficient means of producing a female orgasm. And in fact, get this statistic, only 50% of women experience orgasms in intercourse. And there's actually a biological reason for this, because when women orgasm in intercourse, the involuntary contractions expel the semen, which is counterproductive for keeping the semen in and continuing the survival of the species. We're going to take a brief break and we'll come back from male bedroom boo-boos 9 and 10. Be back with you in a moment.
You're listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. If your heart is still hurting over the bodily loss of your loved one, the reason is simple. We're not meant to be separated from those we love, and reconnecting is the only way to end the grief. But reconnecting and staying connected requires guidance. As a gift to her listeners, Dr. Turndorf is offering a limited number of discounted grief relief sessions to help you reestablish a relationship with loved ones in spirit and resolve any unfinished issues. If you're ready to experience the healing and joy of reconnecting, visit drjamieturndorf.com/grief relief to schedule your session. But don't wait, space is limited. Visit drjamieturndorf.com/grief relief to find out more. And now, back to Dr. Turndorf.
Hello and welcome back to Ask Dr. Love. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and we're doing the countdown of the top 10 male bedroom boo-boos. And we're up to mistake number 9, rushing City Hall. I mentioned briefly in passing, men are quicker to become aroused and achieve orgasm more quickly. And the result is that men tend to forget that women take longer to arouse and are slower to reach orgasm. So don't rush City Hall. And mistake number 10, compare and despair. Many guys have unrealistic beliefs about how often they should be having sex based on what they believe other people are doing. And that can make them feel bad about themselves and unhappy in a relationship. Men often compare themselves to their peers, and they are convinced that everyone around them is having more sex and better sex than they are. And it's just not true. How often men have sex varies greatly by their age and relationship status, according to many national surveys published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine. And one survey showed that the differences based on whether men were single, married, or had a long-term relationship other than marriage, these differences make all the difference. Age also mattered. For instance, married men tend to have sex less often every decade after age 30, but that doesn't mean that their sex lives got worse as they got older. How often you have sex may have little to do with how satisfied you are sexually. People say we have a lot of sex, we only have a little, and sometimes we probe further, and what constitutes a lot or a little is wildly different. And what you consider a lot or a little can change over time. Having sex twice a week might seem like a lot to you when you're single and not so much when you're newlywed. If you have kids and you've been with your partner for a decade or more, it might seem like a lot again. So we need to change our expectations and reframe how we think about this. And you've got to acknowledge that people change, the body changes, the dynamic changes, and just be okay with the fluctuations. Okay, let me give you, I forgot to mention this at the top of the show. I have a quick quiz for you of the secret bedroom fears for men. And these are 12 of the top bedroom fears for men. And the first one is, these are true or false. Women don't like chest hair. What do you think is the correct answer? That's false. Men think women don't like chest hair, but that's false. Women do. 2, size of the penis matters. False. Only 1% of women said it's very important. 20% rated it important, and more than half said it doesn't matter at all. Your third question, the average length of an erect penis. Almost every guy gets this wrong. 5 to 6 inches, and flaccid 3.5 inches. Much smaller than most men realize is the average. Here's your fourth quiz question. A woman's satisfaction is related to whether her partner brings her to orgasm. False. Studies show that many women do not mention orgasm when asked about their most satisfying sexual experiences. Instead, they talk about feeling loved, passionate, happy, aroused, erotic, and connected to their partner. 5, couples enjoy sex less when a condom is used. That's also false and didn't affect whether or not they had an orgasm. 6, the percentage of men aged 50 to 59 who didn't have sex in the last year. 21%. That percentage rises to 34% of married men in their 60s and 54% of those in their 70s. A lot more than you think. Your 7th quiz question, how long do men typically take to reach orgasm? 5 minutes. That was the average in a study of 500 couples from the US and 4 other countries. 8, which may help a man who has trouble delaying orgasm? Medication, condoms, more frequent sex, using a condom. None of those. Something called the squeeze technique. If you go into AskDrLove.com and search the squeeze technique under my advice archives, you'll find all about how to do it. 9th quiz question. Most men have erection problems at some point in their lives. True. 52% of men, more than half, report erectile problems at some point in their lives. 10, not reaching or sustaining an erection should be treated if it happens. Yes, if it happens consistently over 3 months. And please, guys, don't be so quick to just jump to ED drugs, because there's often arterial involvement, like clogged arteries, poor blood flow, and your penis can be a predictor of heart disease and stroke risk. So get your whole circulatory system checked and just don't jump for a pill. 11, men with erectile problems should avoid drinking. And that's false too. There's no link between moderate drinking and ED, but older guys are more affected by alcohol. And your 12th quiz question, as men age, they may need more stimulation to achieve orgasm, and that is true. Reasons for this can include lower levels of testosterone, side effects from drugs, and health problems, but there's no age limit on having a satisfying sex life. So how long does sex actually last? Well, the minimal duration of sex, including seduction, foreplay, and intercourse, should be about 30 minutes. Anything under half an hour is not satisfying for most women. And if you're not quite there yet, build up your sexual stamina by aiming to make each sexual encounter a few minutes longer than the one before. Research shows that the average guy lasts about 14 minutes during intercourse. That kind of contradicts the 5 minutes statistic that I had before. But you don't necessarily have to go that long to satisfy a woman. For every 30 minutes of sex, only 1/4 to 1/3 of the time should be spent on actual intercourse. This leaves plenty of time for the other things she likes, and you won't feel as if you're being clocked. Now, here's another little tip that you might want to know. And this is a penis tip, and that is not a double entendre. Yes, the penis can break. You can fracture your penis. I talked about this. I told a true story about a guy, Mark, who was on my show several months ago, and it is rare, but a penis fracture can occur when there is trauma to an erect penis. And it differs from other fractures in the body because the penis has no bones. But during an erection, the penis is engorged with blood that fills with 2 cylinders, the corpora cavernosa. And if an engorged penis is bent suddenly or forcefully, like if a woman bends backward if she's on top, the trauma can rupture the outer lining of one of the 2 cylinders. So those 2 cylinders are called the tunica albuginea, and this can result in a penis fracture. And the trauma is most often caused during sexual intercourse, like when the penis slips out of the vagina or accidentally thrusts against the pelvis. But a penis fracture can also occur due to aggressive masturbation. Or there's also a cultural practice in which the top of an erect penis is bent to relax an erection. And a penis fracture results in a penis that bulges and appears purple, looking somewhat like an eggplant. And you're going to have penile pain, a popping or a cracking sound, rapid loss of erection, swelling in the penile shaft, and discoloration. And you have to get urgent medical attention if this happens, because if you don't treat it and get corrective surgery within a certain number of hours, you can be rendered impotent for the rest of your life. Let me give you a couple of tweets so you can drive home the messages and the teachings that I've given you today. Overthinking creates a sex life that's stinking. Put your head to bed for a better time in bed. To be a sexual Venus, remember he has other bodily parts besides the penis. Don't be shoddy. Take time to discover your partner's body. For a good sexual time, don't be silent as a mime. Your partner needs to be led to know what turns you on in bed. Don't sell your sex life short by turning the act into an Olympic sport. Sex is not a spectator sport. Elation requires your full participation. To be a good fornicator, you can't be a spectator. Sex goes slack when we try to observe ourselves in the sack. And last but not least, stop worrying about the outcome and you'll find it easier to come. Oh, I have like a really funny little thing I wanted to talk to you about. And it's the Guy's Guide to Recovering from Embarrassing Sexual Blunders. This one happens more often than you think, and that is you pass gas while you're having sex. So rather than getting all embarrassed and freaking yourself out, why don't you just use humor? Humor is a really good embarrassment deflator. You could just make a joke and say, you should cut back on those beans, and then you'll be laughing. And the gas passage and the embarrassment will pass. Another sexual blunder, sexual faux pas is suggesting something she's not comfortable with. Maybe performing oral sex or rear entry, doggy style, whatever the case you suggested. If you suggested something she's not comfortable with and the prude in her rises up, apologize, don't grovel, and just tell her you respect her boundaries and you'd never force her to do something that makes her feel uncomfortable, right? Now, you may also create a sexual faux pas if you suck at talking dirty. Remember that Seinfeld episode where Jerry was unfamiliar with the subtle nuances of dirty talk, and he tells his girl, are these the panties your mother put out for you? It was really funny, but obviously he didn't get lucky that night. So you might blurt out a few unspeakables during sex that may cause your partner to give you a look of disgust. So again, you can use humor. Ask her to talk about the stupidest or unsexiest thing she can think of saying during sex. Make fun, just make fun and be light, and you'll be back on track. Another sexual faux pas is creating pain. Sex can be pretty painful and not in a good way. You can get a cramp, fall out of bed, hurt her by headbutting her in the dark. So how do you fix it? Well, stop, cool off, get her an ice pack if needed, cuddle, right? Another faux pas can be name calling. Sometimes people can blurt out the wrong name, say out the name of a previous partner. This is tricky. So one thing you could do is then just start reciting some goofy names like Ishkabibble, and just keep saying dumb names until you just sort of cover your tracks. All right. Now we're going to be taking a break. And when we come back, I'm going to answer the questions you submitted to the website. But I want to speak for a moment about what my answering your questions entails for me. You know, I have answered questions at no charge at the Ask Dr. Love website for decades, and it has been a real labor of love for me and a community service. And I don't let anyone else answer the questions but me. And I really put my heart and my soul into reading your questions and listening with my heart. And I spend hours answering your questions. And when I post answers, and then of course, discuss the answers on the show, it's very difficult for me to not hear back from the people who I've answered, because then it feels like a one-sided communication. I'm responding. I would like to hear back from you so that I know we're in a relationship together. I like to hear back a thank you, a note of gratitude, a comment about what I said, what worked for you, what you want to know more about. If I'm going to extend myself in this way, I want our relationship to be more mutual. And I do want feedback from the people who I answer. Okay, so let's take a brief break. And when we come back, I will answer the first question.
You're listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. If your heart is still hurting over the bodily loss of your loved one, the reason is simple. We're not meant to be separated from those we love, and reconnecting is the only way to end the grief. But reconnecting and staying connected requires guidance. As a gift to her listeners, Dr. Turndorf is offering a limited number of discounted grief relief sessions to help you reestablish a relationship with loved ones in spirit and resolve any unfinished issues. If you're ready to experience the healing and joy of reconnecting, visit drjamieturndorf.com/grief relief to schedule your session. But don't wait, space is limited. Visit drjamieturndorf.com/grief relief to find out more. And now, back to Dr. Turndorf.
Hello again, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Love. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and this is the time in the show where I'm answering your questions. So the first question is entitled Confused Feelings, Friend or Boyfriend, Love or Infatuation? ? And here's the question. So here's the thing. I've liked my best friend for nearly 2 years, and he finally asked me out about a month ago, and I said yes. But the thing is, I really don't know whether I like him or not, whether I see him as just a friend or as something more. I don't feel what I felt around 2 years ago, as in my heart doesn't waver. I don't even feel giddy and silly. He knows everything about me and I know everything about him. I love him, of course. He's my best friend. But I don't know if we should keep on being girlfriend and boyfriend or go back to being friends. I can't even break up because I'm not sure of myself. Like, what if I break up and it turns out I'm in love with him? And obviously, I don't want to do anything that'll make him sad. Plus, my family's moving to another country in 3 months' time, so I really need advice ASAP. I'm scared that I might lose contact with him and regret literally everything. Now, that is a great question. And you are confused because you are comparing champagne and wine. So stay with me for this analogy and you'll see what I mean. 2 years ago, your love was fizzy, like a freshly opened bottle of champagne. You were experiencing the bubbly excitement of a freshly uncorked bottle of champagne. Now, 2 years later, your love has mellowed like fine wine. Yes, you're friends, and that is wonderful. All the most enduring loves are based upon a solid and enduring friendship. Many people become confused when the excitement of new love mellows, and they wonder if they were only in lust with another person. Knowing how to tell the difference between love and lust is very important. And I have lots of articles on the Ask Dr. Love site that discuss how to know whether you're in love or only in lust. And I previously broadcast a little segment called Dr. Love's Quickies. These are short educational relationship spots. And one of them went like this. Do you know that you should never use your Peter as a love meter? Well, every time Mark takes a new woman to bed, he ends up scratching his head. His big head, I mean. How can he tell the difference between love and lust? Time. While lust usually fades in a few months, true love lasts. So when it comes to gauging whether you're in love or only in lust, never use your Peter as a love meter. So I just recently introduced Dr. Love's Relationship Toolkit. It's under the store at AskDrLove.com. This contains all the tests and the guides that I've created over the decades to help you assess yourself, your partner, and your relationship. And the guides help you determine if you're truly in love or only in lust, whether you and your partner are compatible, who is your ideal partner, whether your partner is relationship material, whether you are prepared to enter a love relationship, what's your relationship IQ, how to know if someone likes you, and so much more. Knowledge is power, and these guides give everyone the assurance that you need to go forward with confidence. So check out the tests. Let me know what you find out. Here's the next question. How to ask a guy with commitment issues what he wants. I've been seeing a guy for 3 months now. He lives in another country, though, so it's not like we see each other every day. He's here for work regularly. I'm 25 and he's 36. I've had commitment issues in the past and never had a serious relationship, but I don't have these issues anymore. I really like this guy and I want to know where he's at. I get attention when I'm at a bar by myself and I turn every guy down because I only want to be with him. But if he's sure that he doesn't want our relationship to develop into something more, then I don't want to miss out on other experiences and maybe miss the opportunity of meeting a really nice guy. But he gets scared very easily, and I don't know how to ask how he feels. I'm afraid that he wants to run and say, I don't want to be officially boyfriend and girlfriend now. And as I think that's too soon, and we need to get to know each other better. I want to know if our relationship now is just casual and fun for him while he's here, or if it can develop into more, and I hope you can help me. Okay, so your question is very clear, and I hear that you are reluctant to be direct with him because you're afraid to scare him off. Your fear that he's going to tell you that he doesn't want to be officially termed boyfriend or girlfriend is something to pay attention to. If you're getting that vibe, there's a good chance that you're picking up where he's coming from. And the best thing to do is just confirm that you're right. You can easily do this by saying, I'm getting the sense that you aren't interested in forming a serious relationship and then you would just like to have fun and nothing more. Am I right? Then sit back and see what he says. And if he says, yeah, I only want fun, then you know that you need to keep dating other guys. And if he says directly that he's not ready to be exclusive, then you can directly let him know that you'll be dating other guys, or you can just go out with other, and you're going to go out with other guys. So above all, you've got to take care of yourself and keep your eye on the ball, because it's not fair to you to close down your options and behave as though you're in an exclusive relationship when he isn't on the same page as you. One little minor point that I also want to raise is sometimes we think that we are over an issue when in fact we choose a partner who ends up being the receptacle for our unresolved issue. Because you mentioned that you've always had commitment issues, and now lo and behold, you think you don't have the issues anymore, but you're with a guy who seems to have commitment issues. So just double check to make sure that you still aren't afraid and that you chose a guy who keeps you in a comfortable, uncommitted situation. Okay. Question is entitled, He's Texting a Teen. Hello, I need help. I've been with my boyfriend for 10 months now. I found out this week that he's been texting a 14-year-old. He's 32 years old. I know that this is very young. He says I'm over exaggerating and that even though he has a girlfriend, it wouldn't stop him from talking to people, even though he wouldn't. I'm very confused. I tried talking to him, but he doesn't listen. Now, every time he's on the phone, I think he's texting other people. Am I overreacting? I'm really lost with all this. Help me, please. Jennifer. So look, this guy is dismissing your feelings. And if you're upset, he should be interested in understanding why and doing what he can to make you feel better. Your red flags are flapping, and for good reason. You have more than one problem here. First off, you have a guy with a wandering eye and wandering fingers. And what's a 32-year-old man texting a 14-year-old girl for anyway? I'm sure he's not texting her to discuss her homework. His behavior borders on pedophilia. And the fact that he's communicating with young girls is already a huge cause for concern. But even if the girl weren't underage, you have the second issue relating to the fact that he's flirting with other people and denying it. His behavior isn't serious or trustworthy. He's not being honest about his actions. Plus the fact that he dismisses you as downright hostile. The real issue we need to address isn't his problem, it's yours. The fact that you haven't already taken a hike tells me that you don't love and respect yourself as you should. I am sure that if you did a little honest soul searching, you will realize that you were playing out an old scar from your own childhood. And I'm betting that one or both of your parents didn't give you the proper attention, perhaps even favored one of your siblings over you, or perhaps you watched one of your parents cheating on the other. If you didn't have the old scar, you wouldn't be with this man, and you certainly wouldn't be sticking by him. Remember, we choose partners who repeat what I call our childhood traumas, our worst traumas. And we do this to achieve our happy ending, which is the resolution of the original injury. So if your parent ignored you and favored a younger sibling, you would be drawn to a partner who doesn't pay you the right attention and favors a younger girl. See the parallel? You aren't going to achieve a happy ending with this man. I say this because he's not interested in hearing what you're saying. He's not interested in being responsive. And the bottom line is staying with him means reliving the pain of your past and re-injuring yourself. I encourage you to identify and heal your old scar. My book, Kiss Your Fights Goodbye, will help you do just this. You deserve much better. You deserve a guy who's all there for you, and that's how it's supposed to be. Please do the healing I suggest and free yourself for a much healthier love. Let me get to, because we're kind of running out of time, let me get to the reading between the sheets question, the sex question. Hi, doctor. I'm 32 years old, and I've been having sexual weakness for more than 6 years. I find it difficult to make 2 rounds, and it's made me lose my female friends. Please help me. Thanks, from Maurice. I am waiting. Well, first of all, I don't like you saying that you're weak, because just saying this is enough to get your little head down, literally. Every guy has what's called a refractory period. This refers to the length of time it takes for the body to recover and obtain another erection. The refractory period can be as little as 20 minutes and as much as a week. As men age, the refractory period gets longer. Even if you can't get an erection again for some time, you still have 2 hands and 1 mouth. So there's no reason why you can't give your partners pleasure in other ways. You are far more than your penis. And if your partner absolutely feels the need to be penetrated again, you can use a dildo or a vibrator. But there's a bigger issue here. When you call yourself names and put yourself down, you are sending out a message to your partners that says, I'm inadequate, I'm no good. Sending out this message is like putting a negative thought in their minds. If you feel weak and inadequate, they will think the same of you. And believe it or not, you don't even have to say the words out loud. People read each other's unconscious minds. If you feel comfortable in your own skin, foreskin included, they will be too. And who are we kidding here? No woman in her right mind is going to dump a man because he can't get it up again immediately. Think of all the women who stay with men who can't get it up at all. If you feel comfortable with the way your body works, so will your partners. Any woman who would leave a man because he can't get another erection immediately isn't the kind of woman you want anyway. First, accept yourself and your plumbing. And when you do, you will attract a woman who accepts you too. All right? Now, let's see if I have time for one more question. Let's see about this one. Kind of a long question. 18-year-old who has issues with physicality. I don't have time for that one. I'm going to go with a shorter one. Hey, I'm turning 18 in a few weeks, and I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 7 months now. Both of us are pretty convinced that it's love. I pretty much know his entire life, and he knows mine. We know each other quite well. I know that we're still teenagers, and everyone would say we don't know what we're talking about, but we think that this is it, that we're going to stay together forever. We've had rough patches and we always seem to get past them. But recently, whenever we meet, we get too physically involved and discuss the future of how it's going to be for us. We do talk about everything else too, but the physical stuff's getting a lot. We don't get to meet very often though. So I could think it's because of that, but I'm not too sure. Being a guy, I guess it's not so much of a problem for him to just let go and enjoy the moment, but I tend to reflect and I freak out a bit because I've never been this intimate with anyone and it scares me. I sort of have a virginity vow till marriage. He says that he can wait for as long as I want, but I guess in reality, we're moving towards getting more and more physical each time we meet. Sometimes I get caught up in the moment too much to tell him to stop. I usually do tell him to stop when I'm uncomfortable. I freaked out last time because it was sort of like third base with hands there. We didn't take our clothes off though, but just no touching, touching through clothes. He says it's fairly normal for that to happen, even though he hasn't been this close to anyone before either. I'm still really confused as to what's happening, and I want to lay off the physical stuff for a while. Am I being naive? What should I do? Okay, so look, you've made a virginity vow. Your boyfriend has his hands all over you. So no wonder you feel confused and scared. You're in a touchy situation. And I'm wondering if when you say the word confused, you actually mean that you're conflicted. And you do sound conflicted. On the one hand, you like the physical contact, or else you wouldn't have gotten to third base, pants or no pants. But on the other hand, you're scared to go against your virginity vow. So you're torn between two opposing desires, which creates a state of conflict. And you also asked me if you're being naive. And I wonder what you mean by this. Do you mean, are you being naive to think that you have a right to tell him to keep his you-know-what in his pants? Meaning, are you naive, or are you naive to think that you can ask a man to wait until marriage? The reality is, it's your body. You have the right to set the boundaries that feel right for you. And if the man loves you, he'll deal with it. That's why God gave us a right hand or a left one if we're lefties. If he can't deal with the abstention, then he's not the right guy for you. And I want you to know that in many cases, confusion is a defense against anger. And I'm wondering if you're angry with him because he's pushing you by telling you that what you're doing is normal. Remember, nobody can make you do anything you don't want to do. And the bottom line is, if you aren't comfortable with the physicality, then he needs to lay off trying to lay you. And tell your boyfriend you want to adopt a hands-off policy for now, so that you can take a breather and see clearer into your own mind, heart, and body. All right. Sorry I couldn't get to all the questions, but again, I have all the advice Q&A at Ask Dr. Love. You can search questions on any topic and find answers to the questions you submitted and past questions, which will be certainly like questions you have. That's all we have for now. I'll see you next time on Ask Dr. Love. Next time.
You've been listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. Sign up for Dr. Jamie's newsletter at AskDrLove.com and receive her meditation audio that will guide you to open your heart and chill out during these stressful times.